Gas prices have hit another record high this week. The national average now at $4.76 a gallon, with AAA reporting at least 8 states with an average for regular gas now at $5 or more. And those prices are likely going to climb in the coming weeks as the summer driving season kicks into high gear. So ABC's Alex Presha traveled to Louisiana with Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm for a look at the Biden administration's strategy for easing the pain at the pump.
You're looking at what the Biden administration hopes may be the country's best chance at combating high gas prices. Nestled about 12 miles southwest of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is Bayou Choctaw, one of 4 Strategic Petroleum Reserve sites in the United States.
Today, I'm authorizing the release of 1 million barrels per day for the next 6 months, over 180 million barrels.
Back in March, President Biden announced his administration's initiative, a record released amid soaring gas prices fueled by record inflation and a ban on Russian oil after Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Fast forward 3 months and those energy prices have continued to rise, which is why Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm visited the Bayou Choctaw SPR site, getting an on-the-ground explainer of the Biden administration's kitchen sink approach to address gas prices. Is this going to help?
The point of this, it's doing its job because it is to stabilize the global market. I mean, we happen to have the largest tool of any country in terms of the volume of our strategic petroleum reserves.
Do you feel like we're close to that stabilization? Do you think things are going to still continue to tick up?
We are starting the driving season, not just in the United States, but in other parts of the world, too. That means demand for oil products like gasoline goes up.
The national average topping $4.70 for a gallon of regular. Drivers telling us similar stories across the country, from Philadelphia.
These prices are ridiculous.
To the Bay Area.
It's insane. I've never seen prices this high before. One
gas station in Los Angeles is charging $8.05 for a gallon of regular.
This is why the president is trying to use every tool in his toolbox.
But Republicans have criticized this approach. We witnessed the divide firsthand on this trip. The tour was bipartisan. The secretary, Louisiana's Democratic governor, 2 members of Congress, Democrat Troy Carter, and Republican Garrett Graves. But look, during this entire press conference, Graves didn't speak once. Afterwards, we witnessed him in an animated discussion with the secretary. We pulled him aside as he left.
All we're hearing from people, especially here in South Louisiana, is why in the world aren't we accessing all of the reserves we have in our offshore and our onshore, and instead tapping an emergency reserve that is here for the sole purpose. It was really designed to address emergencies. It's not to mitigate for bad policies.
Are you hopeful that there is some common ground in Washington to put forth an initiative to combat gas prices?
You can't see any cohesion, any rationale behind the energy strategy that's coming out of the administration. And look, it's not her. Most of it's the upstream at Department of Interior. They're not issuing lease sales.
One of the Republican critiques of this SPR plan is number one, they say first, there aren't enough leases, but then the second critique that we hear often is that this increases our reliance on countries like Iran and Venezuela.
We don't buy oil from Iran or Venezuela. So those are just really, unfortunately, divisive talking points. There are now 9,000 permits that are sitting there in the oil and gas companies' hands unused. There's over 20 million acres of leases on and offshore that are not being used. That is baloney.
According to the latest stats from the Bureau of Land Management, there are 9,081 approved permits to drill across the country. Once a company gets a permit, they also need to contract rigs to drill the wells, a process experts say takes time, not something that would offer immediate relief at the pump for American families. In a fall election heavily influenced by the economy, gas prices and the future of green energy policy are sure to remain center stage.
I don't want to sugarcoat that. The driving season is beginning. There will be more demand for gasoline, more demand for oil. That will cause additional upward pressure like it does every year, but now it's on top of already high prices. So this is going to be a rough, from now through the end of the year, really.
The administration telling us the president is not taking any options off the table, including the possibility of restricting petroleum exports to ease fuel prices.
But when you have 2 pieces, you have a vulnerability, right?
Stop number 2 for the secretary focused on clean energy. a General Electric wind power R&D facility in New Orleans. Here, they study blades for wind farms. President Biden signed an executive order to have 100% carbon-free electricity by 2030, 100% of cars purchased by 2035 as zero emissions, and net zero emissions from federal operations by 2050. Biden has also promised to deliver at least 40% of the overall benefits from federal investments in climate and clean energy to disadvantaged communities.
The coast of Louisiana and of Texas, this has been referred to as Cancer Alley. They have borne the brunt of the impacts of environmental pollution. So if you're building these massive wind turbines, people from this community should be employed, if they choose to, in building it.
I know you've seen headlines about inflation, but also along with that is gas prices. What is the Biden administration push?
The message to people is this is why we have to transition to clean energy. It's homegrown. Nobody's weaponizing solar and wind. No country has ever been held hostage to access to wind or to access to solar.
All right, Alex Presha, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.